Welcome to HPO Premier League with Jack. Jack, last week we had this weekly review. You did it on your own due to the pandemic measures. And we were supposed to have another episode in October, but you live outside Limassol, and we were in quarantine.
Yeah, that's right.
We were in lockdown, basically. That's why we didn't do it. But so long time no see.
Yeah, thanks. Nice to be back again. Yeah, it's been a few weeks, but the football doesn't stop, so we still want to go and talk about it. And
no, definitely,
lots of exciting matches to talk about.
Definitely,
as well.
and last weekend we had the crowds back in England, which was is only for the areas who are categorized tier 2 and above. So in Manchester. The fans are not allowed to be back at the grounds. Hopefully, now with the vaccine, we'll be able to enjoy the football from the different stadiums.
Yes, exactly. That's the unfortunate thing. Some teams can have fans and others can't. Like all the London teams can have fans back, and Liverpool had fans as well in the Kop singing along, and that helped them win as well. But not Manchester clubs. No,
but yes, this is something which was very important. I watched the Tottenham Arsenal game, even though huge stadiums. These 2,000, they do make it. The players do feel it. It's really amazing, and I've been into a couple of matches here in Cyprus without the fans, and the last one, HPO Omonia, is the El Clasico in Cyprus, and there were only 80 people there from both clubs, and it's really it was the second time I've been to a football match now in Cyprus without the fans. And I'm sure it's very discouraging for the players, and the motivation is like playing friendly.
It must be a strange atmosphere. I don't know if people in Cyprus get the same thing, but when you watch the Premier League, they now put the fake crowd noise on the TV.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's chanting and there's fans, but it's actually played over the top of the game, so it sounds like there's a full crowd, and you can choose whether you listen to it with sound of the crowd or with the real sound where there's just the shouting of the players.
I know, but it's not the same for the players. It's not there's no football without fans. That's
a fact, isn't it?
It is. So let's see the results from last weekend. Brighton, Southampton 1-2, West Brom 1, Crystal Palace 5, Sheffield United 1, Leicester 2, Tottenham 2, Arsenal 0. Liverpool 4, Wolves 0, Burnley, Everton 1-1, Man City 2, Fulham 0, West Ham 1, Man United 3, and Chelsea 3, Leeds 1. Very interesting games. As I said, I watched the Tottenham Arsenal match. Very pragmatic Mourinho this year. Of course, he's got this firepower up front with Kane and Son. I don't know how you saw the game.
Oh yeah, I saw the game as well, and it wasn't very impressive from a fan's point of view to watch Tottenham. They're not very good on the eye. They don't play beautiful attacking, free-flowing football. But what they do is they are clinical and they get the job done. And I think Kane and Son just had 1 or 2 shots each, and they put the ball in the back of the net. And Arsenal actually played really well. Arsenal were dominant. They had most of the possession. But
after the first goal, which was an incredible goal.
Son, brilliant
by
goal.
Son, yeah. It looks like Arsenal were a bit deflated. I don't know.
They lost rhythm, they lost the confidence, but they did continue to have possession of the ball. Tottenham hardly touched the ball, but Arsenal, though in the past, Arsenal used to be a team who were not very good at defending, but very good at attacking. They always had good players in attack.
That's why it's typical Mourinho, because It's the defense that wins you the titles. So I see them as a title contenders, really.
I think Tottenham look really impressive. It's almost like the Chelsea in the second spell when he came back. They were very impressive at the back, and I can't see any other teams apart from Liverpool maybe challenging them. They do look really impressive this season. And you got two players, Son and Kane. That's the difference. If they were in Arsenal's team, Arsenal might be at the top, near the top of the table, or at the top.
Any team right now, not just Arsenal.
Yeah,
team.
but they were just comparing the two clubs.
The thing is, the match was very similar to the Man City, Tottenham Man City. They gave the space to Man City and counter attacks, and they are killers.
They were lethal counter attacks.
so it's one up to Mourinho, I would say, because he's been around so many years. He knows how to win, cups, titles, Champions Leagues. So one to look for, because it's a strange season, but it looks like he found the chemistry, and that's why I consider them the title contenders. The other match, which was really interesting, in my opinion, from last weekend, was the West Ham Man United. Again, Man United, they don't perform well in the first half. Actually, they look like they are in somewhere else in the first half, and then in the second half, it's like a completely different team. And the same happened the other night against Leipzig, and they are out of the Champions League. But in my opinion, analyzing Man United, they don't do what you've said about Tottenham. They don't do the basics as far as defending at Man United. And I'm not talking about just the back four. It's the whole team. They don't look like they know how to defend. They don't look like how to block crosses. And everybody is looking at the hair. But at the end of the day, is a team work. Is not just because if your goalkeeper is exposed, what is he going to do? I mean, I've read some in the social media, and then these incidents that he could have made himself bigger or whatever, but okay, it doesn't always work like that.
No, I don't think they're doing the basics, are they? You're saying about Tottenham doing the basics, they do it well. The teams that win titles do the basics, and they go beyond that, of course, but it's all about stopping the opposition and crossing the ball in, defending as a unit, using the a nice sort of solid even line at the back in the back four as well. And yes. I don't think there's one thing I don't think there is at Man United is any leadership. There doesn't seem to be any leadership at the back.
Yes, we've talked about this.
You said this before with Maguire.
Yes.
He was good at Leicester. He was a real leader. Yes. He plays quite well for England too as well. But he's not really. Nobody's in charge of that back four. Lindelof isn't. No. Anybody doesn't really have that ability to do that.
They don't look like they have someone to communicate, instructions to the other players or show their disgust to their
surely De Gea should be doing that as one of the senior players. He's been at Manchester United for a really long time, since Ferguson's time. He's been there for such a long time, and he's just not commanding enough. I don't know, maybe he's lost his confidence. I think he's a confidence player. He does well with confidence when his confidence is up, and he plays well. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, but he's not.
Yeah,
he doesn't do it enough.
If you go back and you look at the really good Man United teams, when you had Schmeichel, Keane, very vocal, you don't have these kind of players anymore. It's not just Man United, believe me. It's something that's been discussed in football, that the new generation of football, the modern footballer, he is not like that. You don't have, I mean, look everywhere, Spain, Italy, even in Cyprus. They just and I've discussed this with some coaches. It looked like they take out the initiative from the players, and they lost some of their characters. It looks like I don't know, but this is something that's been discussed, in the football world, that we don't have these. I'm not saying we don't have Maradonas, because Maradona was unique and he was outspoken even mostly outside the pitch.
Yeah, rest in peace, Maradona, because recently passed.
But and today Rossi died as well.
Yes, another World Cup legend.
Yes. So this is a big issue in my opinion. Also, we had the Liverpool match where they won 4-0 against Wolves. Wolves is a very good team. But it's a strange season without the fans, definitely. So there are no, home advantage for a lot of the teams because of the absence of the fans from the grounds.
Well, yeah, this season, not just in the Premier League, but in the lower English divisions, there's been a lot of away victories, whereas usually being at home is a big advantage for a Liverpool, Man United, all the big teams, and it's not always been the case with no fans. It's almost like an even playing field. I know they're used to the dressing rooms, the home team and things like that, and the surroundings as well. But with no fans in there, it does make the league more open because anyone can have a go and there's no fear and there's no intimidation from the fans, at an Old Trafford, at an Anfield, at an Etihad.
And apart from that, if you do have 3 or 4 wins in a row, you look at United. Now they are 4th in the league table, or look at the standings. So they are very close. The teams are very close, and it looks like it will be like this until the end of the season, and it will be a really exciting end of the season, in my opinion.
It will be, and it'll be interesting to see what happens, especially as you're a Man United fan. What's going to happen with Man United? Whether I think they will stick with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think they will, but they're just relying on their comebacks at the moment and their away form. At home, they've only won 1 game at Old Trafford. That's not good enough for Man United, is it?
Okay. Look, there are a lot of things going on at Man United.
We could talk all night.
We talk all night. The structure. Mino Raiola said it's over for Pogba and United. This someone needs to take control of things. You cannot allow the managers, even though he's outspoken, to control what is going on at Man United. Because basically, we know the player power, but this is gone beyond any player discussing within the 4 walls his demands with the club. We have this outspoken manager who's the same manager of Ibrahimovic, and Ibrahimovic has been everywhere because we know why he's doing it. But the thing is, someone at Man United shouldn't accept this kind of behavior from anybody, because it looks like this guy is controlling and affecting. Basically, I think the right word is affecting of what's going on at Man United. He came out a few hours before a big match against Leipzig with this, and it was in tabloids. It was everywhere. And instead of discussing how they're going to get the result, everybody was discussing about Pogba. He's unhappy, he's this and that and the other. So someone should take control of Man United and really stop it. I'm sure if it was Alex Ferguson, Pogba would have been out of Man United, regardless of his qualities and what he can offer to the team. And if you look at the history, he's done it, Sir Alex, so many times with the big names. So things change. We're talking about modern footballers, but nobody's bigger than the club.
He is obviously a very good player, and he's played really well for France. He was really good at the World Cup in 2018. He was part of that successful team.
He hasn't been consistent, though.
No, but for Man United, he hasn't. No, and I took a look at the stats earlier, and this season he's only scored 2 goals. Last season he only scored 1 goal in all competitions. Now that isn't good enough for somebody. 105 million euros they paid Juve for him.
Yes,
that is just crazy. There's just no contribution to the team, and every week it seems like when I watch the UK
it's
television,
not the players' fault.
They talk about him every week.
Yes, I know, but it's not the players' fault that the price tags. But here is clearly his manager playing games with Man United, and it should not be acceptable. I don't judge the manager. They want to take their cut. They are talking about millions. I'm judging a big club like Man United. They should decide that this is enough, or sit down with the players, say, you don't want to be here.
So what do you think as a Man United fan? Do you want him to stay or do you want him to go now, Pogba?
As you said, he hasn't contributed, and he hasn't been consistent. So after so much time being back at Man United, if I was a chief executive officer, I should have take him to find another club and get rid of him.
Yeah. So
I know it's not easy. Yeah. I know it's easy because there are other, commercial.
Who can
issues.
Afford him? Who can afford his wages?
Exactly, and there are a lot of factors to consider. Okay, commercial reasons. We know how many thousands of shirts are selling because they signed a big name player. But at the end of the day, if you are winning titles, okay, it's a completely different thing. The thing is, you are trying to kickstart with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and as you said, it looks like they gave him the green light to reorganize the team and get some new players in. Which is another discussion we can have whether they want to spend money or not. But we don't want to monopolize the show for Man United. And let's see the standings. So Tottenham on top of the league with 24 points. Liverpool second. Chelsea third with 22. Leicester still going strong. Southampton with 20 points, Man United now sixth with 10 games, 19 points, and Manchester City 18 points in the seventh position. West Ham, then we have Everton, Wolverhampton, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, team Newcastle United, lucky 13 for Newcastle, Leeds, Arsenal. Brighton on the 16th position, Fulham, and then in the relegation zone we have Burnley, West Bromwich Albion, and Sheffield United. So,
shall we talk about Newcastle? Because Newcastle, yes. You say in 13th there. Look, they've. I think that's Newcastle fans, unfortunately, like me, have come to accept that 13th is probably where they're going to finish every year. 13th is not very good, and -3 goal difference. The problem with Newcastle is they don't have enough star players in the team to get them up the pitch, to get them up the table, and to get them up the pitch because they play quite defensively, of course. Callum Wilson is the main man. He's the one who's got the goals for Newcastle. 7 goals, I think, already in 9 games, which is good. He was a good signing from Bournemouth, but unfortunately, the last game against Aston Villa there in 12 called off last week because of the coronavirus in the training ground, which wasn't helpful because it's going to disrupt the camp. They might have to adjust the training sessions, and also they don't keep the match sharpness, and Newcastle need to keep that match sharpness if they're going to go toe-to-toe with anybody above them. Unfortunately, they've sort of been left behind by the rest. If you look at the gap there from Wolverhampton Wanderers upwards, it's only 3 points at the moment. I know Newcastle have a game in hand, but I can just see those other sides pulling away because they've got better players, Everton, West Ham, and obviously the rest of them above that, Southampton in particular. Newcastle should be challenging them. They should be in the top 8, really. That's what we like to see.
The first 10 in the table, they're really strong teams. I mean, West Ham at home against United, I think it's their first defeat at home, if I'm not mistaken. And they came, but they should have finished the game in the first half. If they had a clinical centre forward, because they had the opportunities. They had open goal to score. And we know if you are 2 or 3-0 up, in the first half, then the psychology of the opposition goes down, and it's very difficult to come back. But instead, if it was only 1-0, Solskjaer made some changes at halftime, and they played, especially Rashford. He was unbelievable in the counter attack, especially in the counter attack, and they managed to turn it around. But they really impressive West Ham. So Southampton is a very good team. Leicester is a very good team. So for your team, Newcastle, as you said, if they can stay there or thereabout, and with some additions in the transfer window in January, I've heard that they are in discussion with Man United to get the left back Brandon Williams. So
that would be a good signing. That would be something that would give the fans a little bit more to sort of believe in, But we need players who we're going to sign permanently. We need to be signing the players that Leicester have done. We just need a bit more quality in there. If you look at Leicester's squad, I know they won the Premier League a few years ago, and it was a big surprise. And since then, they've been quite strong, really. Apart from the odd season, they've been quite strong. They've got some really good players who can get them into the top 4. Now, the problem with Newcastle is we said this before, I think, in the last podcast. We were so excited, all the fans. We were expecting this big money takeover to happen, and it never did. And it was, I think it just destroyed the fans' hopes again. They were like, not another season of just being in the mid-table or struggling above the relegation zone. And there was no ambition. The owner doesn't want to put any money into signings. Good signings, but they were frees. They were free transfers, no money spent really. And it was just so frustrating. I mean, you just think there's no ambition. And Steve Bruce he talks well, he's a nice man, he's a fan, and he's a good manager, but he's not a manager who gets you into the top half of the table. He's not a top 8 manager.
He's the manager for your team to avoid relegation.
Exactly, and that's really negative, isn't it? It's a really negative thing. And the fans I don't think they dislike him personally, but they just don't like the fact that we had someone like Rafa Benitez, who wasn't doing much better than Bruce, but he didn't have that much money either. But he was a big name. At least he was a big name.
If you don't have the backing of the management to bring in new players, and so it's very difficult for the coaches. I mean,
what can you do?
Exactly. And apart from that, in my opinion, we discussed this a few minutes ago. Your biggest player is not in the ground; he's outside in the pubs, because the strength of each Newcastle team is the supporters. They give so much, push into the team, especially when Newcastle plays some top teams.
That's a good point.
That's asked me. Every year I remember all the big teams when they go and play at Newcastle. Everybody's discussing whether the teams will be affected by the away support for their team. So that's why there were a lot of wins against top teams. It hasn't been consistent, Newcastle, for so many years. So this is it's a big club. So yes, all these the last few years, the changes of management, the new owners, change of name, which upset a lot of the fans of the ground. All this is affecting what is going on the pitch.
That's true. The problem with Newcastle is they do well occasionally against the big teams, like you say, when they've got the fans backing. Of course, on the flip side, the fans could also be getting on their back when the team aren't performing or they've not started the game well. That's also the flip side of it. But yes, they're good. They're unbelievable fans at St James's Park. I've been there before, and all the fans, 52,000 Geordies chanting. It's really impressive, and it really is a tough place to go.
It's like having 100,000 in another ground.
It is.
They're so passionate.
It is, and because they've not had the fans this season, we've seen Newcastle actually do better away from home. they've got more points away than they have at home. I wonder why. Well, they've not got the support, and the support does make a big difference to clubs like Newcastle. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Burnley, West Brom, and Sheffield United, they really look weak teams.
They do.
Even though I expected with the coach, Burnley has to be more competitive. But it hasn't been so far decent, and okay, it's early in the season, but we know that in order to avoid relegation, you need at least 40 points.
You do, and it's not looking good, is it? Especially for Sheffield United. But Burnley, Sean Dyche is a good manager, and he's worked for years and years at Burnley there with hardly any investment, any funds, and he's managed to keep them up and actually outperform that. He's been towards the mid-table. And it's a really impressive job from him. He's not signed anybody again this summer, and they're always going to struggle. But even so, they've got a game in hand there. If they win that, they're outside of the relegation zone.
But I read recently a very interesting clause that he's got in his contract, which is something some other clubs need to look into. He's going to get a big cut for academy players if they are sold to another club, and I think I don't remember the which player. I talk about 40 million. He's going to get
the McNeil.
Yeah, and he's going to get. I think his cut is 3 million, which is a big incentive for coaches, especially in Cyprus, where they don't look into the academy teams and to develop academy players. They're not interested because they're interested into immediate results and going into Europe or winning the cup or the championship. But it's a really very interesting clause, and when I read it, and I thought it was really a good idea.
It was a surprise to read that, and I think it makes sense now why he's still at the club, because there's a big incentive for him to do that. And I know he actually is from the town where I'm from in England, and he from the county I'm from, and he lives his home is not too far away from my family home, and he drives all the way up to Burnley in the week, and then he stays up in Burnley in the weekends. So he's not actually living in Burnley, but he still goes to Burnley, and I think he has a place there as well because he's got this incentive. He's got shares. Yeah. He's got shares in the players, and he's got an interest, a financial interest in the players that come through the academy, like you say. And if Dwight McNeil is a very good player, by the way, Dwight McNeil, he could end up playing for England if he continues his development and moves to a bigger team. He will stand to get a good few £1 million there, and that's not bad, is it, on top of the money that he'll already be on for being a Premier League manager. So I can see why there's an attraction to stay. But there will come a time where if Burnley get relegated again, he did bring them back up when they got relegated last time. If they get relegated again, will he be able to stay? Will he want to stay? Will his money go down? And will he be able to bring Burnley back up again as well? Because I can't see too much investment even if they go down there. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with him. One other point is, look at Sheffield United. It's been a terrible, terrible season for Sheffield United.
Terrible season, yeah.
11 games, 10 defeats, just 1 point. And then stretching back to last season, they were doing so well. They were in the top 5, top 6 even, or top 6, top 5. They were pushing for the Champions League at one point. But I read that they lost, if you add last season, they've lost 13 of the last 14 games. And that is relegation form, and when you've got 1 point, and after 11 games, it's not looking good at the moment.
I'm sure the psychology of the players is really down. The psychology of the whole club is because after so many matches, you only have 1 point.
That's right,
and also is the goal difference is -13, so it's. Which plays an important role when you are down there.
It does in England, especially in England. At the end of the season. It's what determines the place.
Exactly. So it's yes, but okay, it's a strange season without the fans. Definitely, we see it throughout Europe. And also this virus is affecting a lot of teams. The logistics, because they have to have so many tests every week in order to play a match. The teams that play in Europe, they have the tests every 3 days, and it's okay. It's good that we still have football on TV, But for the players and the staff and the sports science team is really difficult this year. So I don't know if it's, some of the teams, they are affected so much like Sheffield United, because as you said, last year they were so strong, unbelievably strong. They had this success. I was expecting that they were going to qualify, maybe even for Champions League. But in the end, it didn't happen. And now they are down there, and we know how difficult it is to get back up and avoid relegation.
Yeah, especially when you're in a run of defeats. It can just go on and like a cycle.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
And it's hard to find that confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So any player in particular this year that they really impressed you so far, Jack?
I think one player that has surprised people, that we knew how good he was, but we didn't know whether he could make the step up, was Diogo Jota, going from Wolves to Liverpool. Yes. He's had an unbelievable start, not just in the Premier League, but also in the Champions League as well. And he's really taken Liverpool almost up another level, because they've sort of lacked the goals from Firmino in the middle, in the centre. He plays sort of a central role. You've obviously got Mane and Salah either side. And the question on everyone's lips was, will Jota get in ahead of Firmino? And sometimes he's played instead of him, and other times he's played as well as him. There's been like 4 players in attack, and he's come in and he's performed unbelievably. He's been the star man. Everyone's now talking about how he is the main man going forward, and whether long term he will replace Firmino as the main number 9 or the central striker. So he's really impressed me. I've watched Wolves in the past, and they had a really good attacking style of play. They had obviously Jimenez. He was sadly in hospital. He's just come out of hospital having recovered from his head injury, but it was Jimenez and Jota up front, and they were a fantastic duo. They used to bounce off each other and really exciting to watch. But I don't think anybody expected Jota to be this good when he went to Liverpool. It's almost like he's always been in the team, for the last 2 or 3 years, and he's slotted right in. So he's really impressed me. Another player who's really impressed me was Jamie Vardy, because he's not getting any younger. He's getting towards his mid-30s now. Since he's retired from England, he said he wanted to focus on Leicester and have a bit more time with his club and focus, maybe prolong his career by doing that. And he's been really impressive. He scored 9 in 10, I think, this season for Leicester. And some people probably hope he's still in the England team to play with Kane, but it didn't work out that way when they were in the squad together. He's been very good as well. He scored at the weekend. He's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, the big rivals of Sheffield United, and he scored against them the last gasp winner and kicked the corner flag. You can see how much it meant to him. He's not liked by everybody because his personality can be a bit of a divisive character, but there's no doubt how good he is as a striker. He's very good, one of the best in the league. So those 2 players have stood out. Is there anybody that you've found very impressive?
I agree with you. So far, I wouldn't say some of the, is really outstanding apart from these 2 players that you mentioned. Of course, Klopp said that when he scored a hat-trick, if I remember right, they asked him afterwards, and he said he's not my first team choice. But of course, Klopp recently, he made a lot of statements about the injuries the players get because they have a proper pre-season.
Yeah.
And England is the only country that they only have 3 substitutes. So even here in Cyprus, they changed it recently to have 5, which is good. But on the other hand, if you have the settest, starting 11, you have the 5 substitutes. Okay, I know they have the technology to control with the GPS what is going on, and whether some of the players they are continuously in the red, and maybe they're susceptible to injuries.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you change, make 5 changes, maybe it changes the whole chemistry of your team. It's not. It's a catch-22.
It's not always a positive.
It's not always a positive thing to have 5 But he's complaining that at least they need to have this option, the coaches. So it's a big talking point recently in England, especially the teams that play in Europe,
yes,
where the players, they do have so many matches. Like going back to Man United, I've read today that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer never started the same 11 in a single match. So it is, I don't know, because of so many matches why he's doing it, or because he's going on a match by match basis, but this is, I'm sure it's a very difficult time for the coaches this season as well, to make the right rotation, and because it's going to be a long season. We all know that, and this year it's not going to be a winter break. Last year, I think they had the winter break as well.
Yeah, so this season it's going to be difficult as well, especially with the European Championships, Euro 2020, being in 2021.
So basically, no rest for these players for a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a difficult season, but they do have these big squads. Klopp was complaining about the injuries. He was also complaining live on television. He was complaining to the reporter over there, saying, "Why is the game an early kickoff?"
Lunchtime.
Yeah, lunchtime kickoff after the Champions League.
Yes.
So I think he was trying to play some Ferguson mind games there. Yeah. I think that's what he was trying to do.
At the same time, if it wasn't for these huge TV rights, there wouldn't be any Premier League this season.
That's what they were saying. That's what the reporter said. We pay a lot of money for the rights, and we don't decide the kickoff times. The Premier League, and
it's not only Sky anymore. So it's you have to allocate slots according to the matches.
Yeah, different broadcasters,
different broadcasters, and so on. Okay, shall we look at this weekend's matches as well?
Yeah, let's see what's coming up this weekend.
Some interesting matches. Also, the Manchester derby.
massive game.
Leeds, West Ham, Wolves, Aston Villa, Newcastle, West Brom, Man United, Man City. Everton, Chelsea, Southampton, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Fulham, Liverpool, Arsenal. It's going too fast.
There's so many games that the computer is getting excited there. But look, the standout game there is that Manchester United-Man City game, the big derby.
Yes, but okay, and Everton Chelsea that's
another big game.
It's another big game. Arsenal Burnley and Leicester Brighton. You are absolutely right. It's the two matches I see this weekend. Of course, you don't know if there are going to be any other surprises this weekend, but the two matches that really stand out is the Manchester derby and the Everton Chelsea. Okay, really strong Everton at home. Chelsea, the really exciting team. But because of the so many players in the squad, they're going to find their consistency. It's quite obvious they're going to find consistency, but sometimes you feel like they need something, like some fine-tuning in order to reach on a continual basis a top level.
Yeah, I think they're just starting to gel now as a team.
Yeah.
I looked at the stats again, and in the last 10 games, they've won 8 and drawn 2. So they haven't lost any of those, and they've been really impressive. They're through in the Champions League, with ease, really. They stroll through their group, albeit an easier group than other teams. And I think Frank Lampard's starting to see the benefits of having his big squad. He's got Olivier Giroud scoring goals. He's got Tammy Abraham in reserve, but then you've got Timo Werner, the big money striker, the big signing from the summer.
Giroud, because of the competition this year, he's more consistent. Last year he was neither here, neither there. He was a substitute. He was sitting on the bench, not in the starting 11, and he's a quality player, and he was not that consistent. So a competition helps the players.
I think so, and I think they've they made some good signings. We spoke about it before. Everybody knows how good the signings are and how much money they spent. Real quality Havertz, Ziyech, top players. And they will contribute. They will bring a new level of creativity to the team. It'll be interesting to see how far they go in all competitions, because obviously being in the Champions League and also the Premier League and the other domestic cups, it's going to take its toll. But we did say they've got that big squad. They've got two good keepers. They've got Mendy and Kepa.
It was all a matter of all these new players to gel together.
Of course, yes.
And yes, the more they play, the more we'll see this, consistency that Lampard is seeking from his team.
And although Everton haven't been on the best run recently, they did start very well this season, and they do have some, again, very good players. James Rodriguez, Alan,
and a very experienced coach as well. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting match. So Man United, Man City. We don't know which Man United will turn up.
If it's the home Manchester United, then it's not looking good. If it's the away Man United, it's very good.
Yes, okay, and Man City, they haven't started well, but I'm sure that they will, in the end, they will pick up a lot of points and be up there at the top.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Man City because they're not flying high. They've not won every game. They're not right up there with Tottenham and Liverpool, which is a surprise because of the money they've got in their squad, the top players they have. But they've just slightly, I think they're quietly getting better again. They're quietly moving up the table. They're still below. It's incredible. They're below Manchester United. They're below them. And we're talking about how bad things were for Man United, but they still get the results. I think Man City, we'll keep an eye on them because they're not going to finish in that position in the table. They're not going to be towards the bottom of the top half of the table. They're going to be challenging. They will be in the top four, I'm sure of it. But the one thing I noticed about Man City, they don't have a big scorer. They don't have a Son or a Kane.
I was going to say that Aguero hasn't played that much.
Aguero's been injured. He hasn't played much.
So they don't have this top scorer in the team because they create a lot of chances, but they are not scoring that much like in previous years.
No, they don't. And they used to score so many goals in the first couple of years of Pep Guardiola when they won the title a couple of times. They were known for being free-flowing, free-scoring, and very exciting attacking football. But this season they've had 13 different scorers, so they spread the goals about. They can score the goals, but Sterling and Ferran Torres, the new signing, they're the top scorers with just 6 goals. Yeah. And that's not enough really for them at the moment.
And looking back at what happened last year, where there was a big gap between them and Liverpool, I was expecting that they were going to be from the off up there.
There was a big surprise, wasn't it, last season?
Yes. So, but I was expecting that they were going to start really strong this year, and it hasn't happened so far. So it's as you said, it's a team to look at their progress, going forward in the season. I'm sure they will be up there in the end. And if I'm not mistaken, they extended the contract or they're in talks to extend the contract with Guardiola.
Yes.
So is the last year, and with the loss of company, they had some issues on the defense side. Going forward, they were really strong, but where it mattered, shall we repeat it? That is the defense that is going to win you the titles. This is something that the football people keep saying all the time.
Yes, I think so.
So they do have, a very good goalkeeper, but in the back four, it's a transitional period for Man City. And then they need to be stronger if they're targeting to, and I'm sure they are, to win the title. Because this year we'll have Tottenham, and it's not just Liverpool.
Yeah, there's somebody else to look at, somebody else making it more interesting as well. And it's nice to see that. We don't want to see Liverpool, Man City every season winning the title in that order. We want to see different teams. And I think if you're looking at it as a neutral, it's nice to see other clubs involved at the top. And it just makes the Premier League a bit more of an open race, and you can keep your eye on different teams. Yeah. And it's also, they might not be a pleasure to watch Tottenham. They might be a bit boring. They might be a bit defensive. But it's up to other teams to break them down. And it's a challenge, and it's also an interesting tactical battle, if you want to put it that way. If you watch the games, it's not, you're going to be watching Spurs, you're not going to be expecting 100% entertainment all the time, but you're going to be watching from a more of a tactical point of view and see if the teams like Man City, Liverpool can break them down, and they haven't so far in the meetings they've had. So it'll be interesting to see, because Tottenham are obviously away at Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are quite an attacking team, but Tottenham are a counter-attacking team. So that's going to be a very interesting game. Will Tottenham do what they did to Arsenal last weekend? So be interesting. We're looking forward to seeing how that plays out, and I'm very much looking forward to the Manchester derby, because I really can't predict which way it's going to go at all.
Yeah, definitely. Because as we said, we don't know which Man United will turn up.
Exactly.
So it's okay. We'll leave it here, Jack, and we will come back next week. And I don't know if it's probably you doing the weekly review, or we do it together. But we'll be back next week with this week's results and a review of the week's news.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more to talk about yet again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much, Nico.
Thank you.